Here is an interesting question. Which country would you like to be born if you had a second life? When asked this question, British historian Arnold Toynbee answered after a pause, "I would like to be born in China." His reason, coming from a historian's perspective, was simple. China will play a very important role in the future of mankind. Toynbee explained that he had come to this conclusion based on his analysis of different civilizations of the world and his assessment of China's position in the multidimensional space of global evolution. China's modern history prior to 1949 was dazzling in its complexity. To the wise, however, amidst all the adversity and the suffering, the power of an awakened Oriental lion shone through. In a century of humiliation and struggle, many plans to save the country were proposed. Capitalism, reformism, liberalism, social Darwinism, anarchism, pragmatism, populism, syndicalism. They emerged one after another, but eventually came to nothing. Whither China? What path would the Chinese nation take? To realize the Chinese dream, we must take our own path. The path of socialism with Chinese characteristics. This is not an easy path. Being deeply rooted in our history and broadly based on China's realities, this path has emerged from our great endeavors in reform and opening up of more than 30 years. From our constant explorations since the founding of the People's Republic of China more than 60 years ago. From our profound review of the Chinese nation's experience during more than 170 years of modern history. And from our inheritance of more than 5,000 years of Chinese cultural heritage. The Communist Party is the choice of China, its people, and history. Why? Because Chinese communists represent the fundamental interests of the Chinese people, and because they have forged a path for China to become prosperous, strong, democratic, culturally advanced, and harmonious. This path is recognized by all ethnic groups, all political parties, all social strata, and all sectors in China. It is appreciated by all in the rest of the world who have a sense of justice and a righteous view. It is an inevitable choice for China as it moves toward the future and strives to achieve its 2 centenary goals. The path of socialism with Chinese characteristics created by our party is of a great practical and historical significance. First of all, this path adheres to socialism. As Xi Jinping has pointed out, the basic principles of scientific socialism must not be abandoned. Otherwise, socialism would be lost with them. The party has always stressed that socialism with Chinese characteristics adheres to the basic principles of scientific socialism and contains distinctive features of contemporary China. Every country and nation is unique. The path of development a country or a nation chooses should be tailored to its own realities. Any theory or system must be adapted to local conditions if it is to take root and bloom. The path of socialism with Chinese characteristics is crucial to the progress of China and the well-being of its people. The endeavor to create a path of socialism with Chinese characteristics and achieve the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation found its origins in explorations of generations of progressives since the Opium War of 1840 to 1842. The foundations of this endeavor were laid down by the success of the New Democratic Revolution and through arduous efforts to build socialism under the leadership of Mao Zedong. Early success was achieved thanks to Deng Xiaoping's vision of reform and opening up, and his boldness in rising to challenges. Under the leadership of Jiang Zemin and Hu Jintao, and now under Xi Jinping, even greater progress was made as the country broke new ground and kept up with the times. Only by weathering the snow did this vista spring forth, for all things in this world are but hard won. In 1978, before the policy of reform and opening up was adopted, Deng Xiaoping visited Japan and rode on a Shinkansen bullet train. The one thing I feel keenly is its speed. It's like urging people to hurry. Right now, we need to take such a train. In October 1987, when János Kádár, General Secretary of the Hungarian Socialist Workers' Party, was visiting China, Deng Xiaoping offered him a piece of advice. We can copy neither the ways of Western capitalist countries nor those of other socialist countries. Still less can we afford to give up the advantages of our own socialist system. Jiang Zemin made it clear China's socialism is neither the Soviet model nor the Eastern European model, but socialism with Chinese characteristics. Hu Jintao stated firmly, "We reject both the rigid, closed-door policy of the past and any attempt to embark on the erroneous path of abandoning socialism. Taking the right path is crucial to the future of a country, the destiny of a nation, and the well-being of a people. It has been bold practice and innovation that have allowed China to progressively establish its own model of development." I searched for her endlessly in the crowd before I looked back and spotted her under the dim light. The path of socialism with Chinese characteristics has been resolutely explored by the Chinese people under the leadership of the Communist Party of China. China's unique cultural traditions, historical mission, and realities determine that its development must be tailored to its own unique circumstances. In an interview with BRICS Media, Xi Jinping noted, "Just as one won't find two identical leaves on the tree, we do not think there is a one-size-fits-all experience. Nor do we believe that a development model will stay the same forever. The only path that will take us far and bring us success is the one that is chosen by the Chinese people and suited to China's reality." As China's overall national strength has grown and its international standing has become intrinsically high, there has been a growing discussion in the international community about the Beijing Consensus, the China model, and the Chinese path. Many opinions have been positive. According to some foreign scholars, China's fast growth has thrown some Western theories into doubt, and a new version of Marxist theory is subverting the traditional theory of the West. In May 2004, the Foreign Policy Center, a respected UK-based think tank, published a research report, The Beijing Consensus, China's Alternative, noting that China had established a development model that suited its realities through determined effort, active innovation, and a bold practice. American political scientist Francis Fukuyama, who once proclaimed the end of history, even backpedaled on his theory, saying the effectiveness of the China model proves that the Western freedom and democracy are not the end of history. There should be a place for Chinese traditions in the treasury of human thought. The world is diverse. The path a country takes is determined by a range of factors, including its history, cultural traditions, and the level of social and economic development. Only your own feet can tell whether a pair of shoes fits you or not. Likewise, only the people of a country can decide whether a path of development is suited to them. In his book, The China Wave, scholar Zhang Weiwei wrote, "If China had not chosen its own path, but followed in the footsteps of Western countries, it would not have fared better than the former Soviet Union and Yugoslavia. It would probably have disintegrated." He also stressed, China has emerged in a way that the West does not comprehend. In the future, it will grow into the world's largest economy, again in a way that the West does not understand, and have a profound impact on the entire world. The West always talks about the Washington Consensus, which I refer to as a market fundamentalism, but the financial crisis has proven that complete reliance on the market causes big problems. The international financial crisis, triggered by the American subprime crisis, exposed the problems of Western capitalist countries economically, socially, politically, and in many other aspects. In 2009, the first year of the financial crisis, there was a set of figures that shocked the world. Global GDP declined by 2.2%. The number of unemployed workers worldwide approached 212 million, and the unemployment rate was 6.6%. And the ranks of the world's hungry surpassed 1 billion for the first time. As former U.S. National Security Advisor Zbigniew Brzezinski admitted, with a financial system that is out of control and that simply reaps benefits for a few, and in the absence of an effective framework to give us bigger and more ambitious goals, it remains a question whether democracy will continue to prosper. Even Western countries have begun to reflect on their system. Following the international financial crisis, they came to realize that their electoral politics brings about short-sighted, utilitarian policies. Many promises are made before elections, but afterwards, the focus becomes the next round of elections. Under such a system, there can be little consideration of the overall long-term interests of a country. Instead, what we see is empty, irresponsible promises being made to win elections. Development is the absolute principle. The benefits that the Chinese path has brought to the average Chinese person have been universally acknowledged. Shaogang village in Fengyang, Anhui province, led the way in implementing the land contract system, which marked the beginning of China's rural reform. More than 3 decades have passed since then, but Shaogang village has continued to receive attention around the world. China's rural reform started in my village. Thanks to 35 years of reform, the village's economy grew substantially, and living standards greatly improved. People's incomes increased enormously. In 2013, per capita net income reached 12,100 RMB. The villagers moved into new homes. This housing development is new. It was completed about 2 years ago.
Just look at this housing. If it weren't for this, my 3 sons would struggle to find wives. No one wants to marry a man without a decent house. Now 2 of them are married.
Stand still, stand still. Good. Look toward the camera. Our aim in reform is to bring the maximum benefit to the people. This is how we see reform. Fulfilling the people's desire for a better life is the goal we're working toward. The goal of making the people wealthy and the country strong. This is the charm and the life of the Chinese path. The implementation of the household contract responsibility system with remuneration linked to output in rural areas helped to unleash and develop the productive forces there. The result was bumper harvests, employment for the rural surplus labor force, and the rise of township and village enterprises, which have progressively grown into major players in the Chinese economy. Lu Guanqiu is among China's first generation of entrepreneurs since the policy of reform and opening up was introduced. He turned a rural enterprise with only a few dozen employees into a publicly listed multinational corporation, the Wanxiang Group in Zhejiang Province. China's reform and opening up began in rural areas with the introduction of the household land contract system. We seized upon the opportunity offered by the policy of the central government to sell products to other countries. When the policy allowed it, we were the first to go abroad. Before the reform and opening up drive, the Chinese were looked down upon, When I visited the United States in 1985, we received a warm welcome. There were words being said in Chinese and English. I did not understand English, but I knew Chinese. Their translator translated for us, telling us that we were being welcomed. We also saw the national flag of the People's Republic of China being raised. The translator told us what was happening. I felt proud. Honestly, I was thankful for the party's policy of reform and opening up. Lu Guanqiu seized the opportunity presented by the party's reform and opening up policy to grow his business fast. His top priority was making the Wanxiang Group an industry leader. Apart from making auto parts, today's Wanxiang Group is also actively involved in the development of clean energy and has financed the construction of China's largest lithium-ion battery manufacturing facility. In 2013, the Wanxiang Group's revenue reached 138.8 billion RMB, and its exports were worth $3 billion. But this is just a glimpse of the Chinese dream. Former Prime Minister of Singapore Lee Kuan Yew once said, "Today, China is the world's fastest developing nation, growing at rates unimaginable 50 years ago." A dramatic transformation no one predicted. The New York Times carried an article entitled "Catch the Chinese Tide," noting that in the past decade, the Chinese economy had created 3 UKs, which is an amazing feat.